So, I was half considering starting off by saying, like, here we are scratching our balls. Episode number 80 of Stream of Thought. But here we are on episode number 80 of Stream of Thought. And let me tell you, this is a shorter one. This is kind of a special edition, so to speak.
I don't know what's so special about it, but it's shorter.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
For what it is.
Well, what is special about it is that it'll be, this will be an episode in between the normal,
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Women's March, which translated into a couple other topics that we talked about in regards to technology, old school, instant messaging.
Yeah.
And then we talk a little bit about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that we haven't really shared on air very much.
No.
So it's just here and there, just random stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's entertaining.
It's fun, entertaining, a short one, you know, so.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah, short, sweet, and to the point, and not a whole lot more to really detail. So, with that being said, episode number 80, Stream of Thought. We hope you enjoy.
So, I'm going to say, first of all.
I want to say, first of all, why are there crumbs all over your side of the table?
Question.
What is all this from?
I don't know, actually. We were here.
What is all this?
I have no idea.
What? Okay,
Anyway.
continue.
Dulce.
Yeah.
Dulce has been eating at the table.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know this is going to be long past when it occurred, but dude, I just need to vent about the weather so far, and the fact that if you're trying to travel anywhere on the East Coast,
Don't.
this past winter or spring, like, I feel you, because I was supposed to go to Jersey, and this was during the fourth nor'easter to hit the East Coast in, I think, like 3 weeks, and totally shut down all the airports in Jersey and New York area for 2 days, and they canceled all the flights. So, of course, it's around spring break period, so, March and April or so. Good luck trying to find any day of the week that you can get anywhere on airline that costs less than $500. So, it kind of really limits your options, especially when you have this stuff planned out months in advance and you're planning for trips like that. It's just, like, interesting how Mother Nature throws things your way. But it's kind of a good thing that happened, because I had the chance to go to, I don't know, have you heard anything about the organization that held the rally called March for Our Lives?
I did hear about that.
Okay, well, what do you know about it?
All I know is it was a rally for gun control.
Okay,
And
do you
it
know
happened across the country.
Yeah, but do you know, like, how it started
Nope.
or anything surrounding it? It just
Nope.
sort of happened. Okay, do you know the shooting in Parkland? that
Yes, I
happened?
know about that.
Okay, so...
Yeah,
Those-
I was watching that when it was happening, when they were evacuating the school. I remember being to the gym, like, what the hell is going on? It said, like, high school shooting. I thought to myself, oh, well, that's a surprise. Not. It's like, okay.
Now, as somebody who... You don't really watch the news.
No.
So, it's very interesting.
I don't
because
really
feel
watch
like
TV. So.
It would have been impossible for anyone to miss the weeks after the shooting. All these kids went out on all the news networks.
I remember
and
that.
we're talking. Okay, so you do remember seeing sort of like clips of kids. They debated the NRA, for example.
Yeah, because I saw that. Because I saw that on. I saw that on Fuck Jerry.
Oh, okay, yeah. There you go. So fuck Jerry at least kept you in the loop.
Because I remember when they were going up against the NRA, the spokeswoman for the NRA was they asked them a yes or no question, and she went off, and then at the end, whatever the girl's name is, Emma Gonzalez, I think it is, was like, okay, but may I remind you that the question is, and then she read the question, and then she tried to just avoid the question, and I think she even maybe said, like, may I remind you this is a yes or no question. Like, they were very keen on, like, nope, this person is just a politician, so to speak, and I'm asking a very simple question that requests a very simple answer. And
These are some
not getting
brilliant
that
kids.
right now.
I mean, do you think that when we were that age that we could have outsmarted someone like probably? I mean,
I
Lombard
can't.
West was, but I mean, those kids are acting like
I can't think of anybody from our high school who could be that one
go
person
toe to
that.
toe against
Yeah.
someone who is probably spent her
I
whole
mean-
life debating people.
I mean, I can probably think of some people that can go toe to toe, but I can't think of someone that can go toe to toe, but could also have been that person that the entire school can rally behind.
Exactly. So anyway, they were making all these news rounds, and then basically they went on any show that would have them. They talked to anybody who would listen. They went to go see congressmen. They went to go see lawmakers, and they ended up meeting with students of other schools that experienced shootings all across the country. So they were like emissaries, and they went out across the country and talked with these people. And while this was going on in the early phases, this was like, gosh, maybe not even a week after the shooting, they had announced that they were organizing what they were calling a March for Our Lives. And that would take place on March 24th. And it would take place all across the country, but the main one would be held in D.C. But this would be something that everyone should participate in to just get people active and part of the conversation to actually start making some sort of realistic changes when it comes to gun control in this country. So, yeah, so that's how it originated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does the timeline track?
Yeah.
And so they have been these kids from Parkland have spent the past month talking with other organizers, making sure that all across the country that everyone is sort of on the same page and knows what it's going to be about. They came up with their symbols and their logos and all this stuff that went into planning this massive thing. And all across the country, there were main hubs. Chicago was one of the main hubs, like New York, Chicago, I think L.A. There are a couple other major cities around the country. And the world, by the way. There was one in Paris and a couple of
I
other
didn't know
places.
that.
So this was all over the world that this took place today. But primarily in the U.S., there were something like 500 different locations all over the country with those couple of main hubs all over the place. And so because I wasn't able to make my trip to Joyzy,
Yeah.
I had the chance to experience
Who did you go with?
this march. I ended up going with my mom. She had wanted to go to the Women's March, the first Women's March after Trump's election last year, but she hadn't been able to. And so I think that she also got super, super busy with work. All of it just collapsed on the same week that the Women's March this year happened. So this was the first chance that we had to go out and actually support one of those causes that's really, gained steam. And these kids, man, like, let me tell you, this whole setup in Chicago that I experienced, so professionally done. It was a flawless organization. I mean, from everything as simple as making sure that they had porta potties lined up in appropriate locations. Like, I cannot count the number of times that I've gone to gatherings where they don't know where to put the frickin' porta potties, or they just don't have them, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna pee my pants then." And to the sound system, to the person running the video, the camera, operating the camera, and doing the cutaways and stuff like that, everything perfectly timed. Mics went up and down accordingly. Nothing was too loud. Everyone could hear everything.
Where was that? Millennium or Grant Park?
This was Union Park.
Okay.
So there had to have been, I don't know. The numbers will have come out by now, so I'm not going to really guesstimate. But there were
There were a lot of
tens
people.
of thousands.
Okay.
There was over 10,000, well over 10,000 people there, and it was quite the presentation. It was maybe an hour long, and you had these kids ranging from the age of, I think the youngest one who got up to speak was like 12 years old.
Wow.
And the oldest was, I believe, a senior in high school.
Okay.
And they had maybe 6 different speakers who came up, and they just talked about their experience of going to school primarily in Chicago schools, and what their lives were like from a very early age, having to understand what it meant to, like, that one of your classmates or one of your friends was killed by a gun. Like, all these kids were sharing this experience at the age of 5 or at the age of 7 or at the age of 9. Like, they had to learn what it meant that someone was senselessly, like, slaughtered. And for them, they described it. One of them described it very succinctly as like experiencing PTSD. It's like living in a war zone. Violence happens. You're at a young age. It's senseless. It makes absolutely no sense, and no one does anything about it. And it happens again, and it happens
Yeah.
again, and it's like is your life is a war zone. And it's like you assume that's what America is. So of course you're going to grow up with a lot of issues that I think extend beyond school and into the rest of your life. So to hear them channel all of that pain and suffering into something constructive was just a really moving experience. There's this one 14-year-old kid who won he won this project. He's like a it was like a poetry slam kind of thing. It was like a rap, but without music or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was like a poetry slam.
I love that shit.
Shit, dude. Like, he was using words that you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, his grammar and his rhyme scheme and everything, it just flowed so beautifully. Now, the problem is, the one thing they didn't get, unfortunately, and I think it's more the news media's fault than it is them, and I'm sure there's more videos that's going to be coming up, but when the news media reported it, they didn't get the audio, and so it sounds very echoey and tinny, and you can't really hear what this kid is saying. But like, we could hear it crystal clear from where we were in the park, and my jaw was like hitting the ground. I'm like, damn, this kid is just tearing at the heart of, like, he was just beautifully painting the picture of what a horrifying scene kids in the inner city of Chicago have to deal with.
I wonder if any of those things are available on YouTube. I'm sure they'll find their way up there.
I'm sure they'll find their way up there. Definitely worth checking out.
That sounds super cool. How long was you get there, you get to the train station, you walk there, how long is this?
Well, it takes it's like a 1.5 mile walk from the train station.
No, I'm saying how. Once you get to
And then we get to the park.
Was this event like 4 hours long and you were there for 2 hours, or like what? How? What
So
was the...
it was supposed to start at 11.
Okay.
And it didn't end up getting started until about 11:20.
Okay.
And so the program ran about an hour, and so it was supposed to end at noon, and the march was supposed to start at like immediately after, I think 12:30 or something like that. So it didn't get done till what 12:30ish, and then it took a good half hour to get everyone in the position, and apparently they readjusted the route too, so everyone's just standing there for maybe a good half hour, just sort of inching forward, and no one knows what's going on. Like, no one's really coordinated. They didn't really coordinate people for the march after the program was over. It just sort of happened, but they cut the route short by like 3/4 of a mile or so. And so I think they ended up moving barricades and stuff, and that's why we were standing there for half an hour.
Oh, all right.
And so at this point, it's freaking freezing out there too.
Oh, I know.
And the wind is just howling through. And so my mom and I walk the route and then just continue on the way to the station and just depart where it curves off. So we marched half.
It reminds me of I saw this thing on Instagram where it was this video where this girl gets her high school or college diploma, and instead of going back into the row of seats, she just keeps walking, and walks right out of there.
Yep. But I think most people were doing that too,
Yeah.
because everyone else, it was one of those things where, Gay Pride weekend or whatever the event in Chicago is, when it's sort of ending, like, it's not quite done yet. The event's not quite done, but just the flood of people, like, trying to beat the early traffic or whatever, just
people leaving early from a sports game.
It's like people leaving early from a sports game. Exactly.
All right, we've seen what we need to see. Time to get up and go.
It was This is the post game show. We don't need to see Boomer and Skipper talk.
That's good. I'm happy that you had fun. That would have been
man.
Cool to see.
We gotta do something.
See, I was thinking about that because I saw stuff on Instagram, like different celebrities and everything.
Oh yeah.
And I was watching this. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not really into huge events unless it's a music venue.
Yes.
And it was cold outside. I was also thinking of that it was freezing outside.
Yeah.
And I saw, I keep wanting to say meme. It wasn't a meme, but it was a picture of Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, and it was, I think, like CNN was reporting. Like the picture was taken from a
Yes.
TV or something, because you could see the
Fox News.
or was it Fox?
It
I
was
don't know.
on Fox News,
It was
yeah.
several different. And
I saw that.
I think they had asked like, "Why are you here?" They asked like some generic question that they ask everybody, and he's like, "Oh, well, one of my best friends was killed as a result of gun violence." It's like, oh my gosh. Now I'm not,
Yes,
but it's like it's funny because he didn't say John Lennon. He just said his best friend. And then you're like, wait, what? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a cute little way to put it.
yeah, but yeah, I saw that and I was like, dude, it's 30 degrees outside. Ain't no way I'm going outside today.
So, and here's the thing, too, that I feel like I should be expressing moral outrage in the fact that you're not passionate about an issue like gun violence in schools, but I'm not. I don't really care. Like, it's not like your emotion towards the topic really is going to have an impact on the overall conversation. It is fascinating, though, because it is an important issue, but it's one of those things that unless you're personally affected, like most things, you can't really grasp the weight of it. And we got so much stuff in our lives that's like, what are we going to prioritize? Like, I can really empathize with those kids, but it's hard because we never had anything like that happen at West.
No.
I never had anything like that happen at college or seminary. So, I mean, like, the closest I ever got to something like that was I was a couple of blocks away when a gun went off in upper Manhattan, Harlem. And so, like, I'm not really... my emotional heartstrings
your emotions
are
aren't
not
spiked
pulled
when I got you.
when this... But, you know, it's one of those things that I feel like at this time in America... I think more of it is my love for the country and politics and being a part of this. Because this, if you can move the needle on guns, that has been... People talk about, like, Social Security as a third-rail politics, but, like, guns are the third... Like, no one's ever been able to do anything to touch guns or gun regulation. And so, if anything's able to happen on guns, well, that... the impossible then is possible.
Did you see, or did you hear that YouTube is putting restrictions on videos that relate to guns and ammunition?
Yeah, I didn't read too much into that. Did you?
I have a very vague
Can you sum
understanding.
it up for me?
Pretty much anything, I believe, anything that involves the modification or creation of like guns and ammo and just anything related to that will not be allowed.
That they're demonetizing it or banning it?
I think they might be demonetizing. I don't know. I can't recall.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because people have been having this conversation of... Especially YouTubers. YouTubers have been having this conversation. Casey Neistat was on a podcast I listened to called The Verge, which is a tech podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about it. Phil DeFranco's talked about it. But basically, Facebook is right now getting ravaged by the media. And especially, it's starting to head to Congress in regards to, is there governmental oversight that can be placed on this private company, basically. And so Facebook is having to deal with this super intense fallout, and they're like freaking out. They don't really know what to do. Mark Zuckerberg went on a 5-day hiatus and just disappeared and didn't do any press related stuff. And so now it's looking like government regulation is more and more likely in regards to what content is monitored on that particular platform. Now, what everyone else is saying is that other social media companies are going to be soon to follow, in regards to the restrictions, the preemptive restrictions. Because right now, we're still in the Wild West. We can post anything. You got people on Facebook. You think about this, too. And there's a good side to it, too. Like, you have these horrible things like the Jake Paul suicide video, but then you have things that are kind of necessary in regards to public awareness, like Philando Castile or other stuff caught on tape, stuff caught on camera that's filmed a Facebook Live.
Yeah.
I can't think off the top of my head what that instance was of the woman who filmed on her phone Facebook Live and just went up immediately. So no one could censor it, no one could take it
Yeah.
down. People could like see the truth of
Yeah.
what happened in the situation. So there's positive and there's negative. Because the negative is people can make it appear that they're showing you truth when really it's a manipulation, and that becomes, and they can manipulate the computer algorithms to make it seem like that is in fact the truth. So yeah, regulation is coming down the pipeline, and people are very nervous about it. And I think YouTube is probably behind the scenes thinking of ways that they can preempt it so that the government doesn't come in and say, we're gonna monitor what you're doing, because that is the last thing they want.
Yeah, that would suck. That sucks anytime Uncle Sam gets his sticky fingers on something.
Dude, man. I mean, and that's the thing too, is that like I honestly, as hyped as people may be to put regulations on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that, I think it's Americans' basic responsibilities to be intelligent and informed enough to be able to not take what they see on a social media site as the God-given truth of the world. Like, I don't know. That's our responsibility, what's posted on there. People are talking about, oh, the Russians hacked our elections. The Russians hacked our elections. Well, we shouldn't be stupid enough to fall for fake ads saying that Hillary Clinton's a murderer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, really, we should be smarter than that. And so, but we're not, and that's the thing too. And the craziest part is, I will vent just this one thing. The craziest part is that the people who are saying that the government should have nothing to do with censoring information are the stupidest people in the country. They're the ones who are gonna fall for it, and they're advocating the point that I think is, on my end, like essential to American liberalism.
Do you think there have always been the same number of just stupid people out there, or do you think the internet helped breed stupid people?
Oh, I think there's always been the same amount of stupid people.
They just haven't been. Now they can be heard.
Yes, exactly. Now they can be heard.
Yeah.
Every stupid person has a voice.
Yeah.
And we have to listen to every stupid person now, because they're on the same platforms and levels and communications as everyone else.
My buddy Chris, every so often he deletes his Facebook, and then we see he's back on Facebook. I'm like, dude, what happened? He's like, dude, I just deleted Facebook because I was really tired of it, and I didn't really, just didn't need it. And then, dude, you're back on. What happened? Dude, I kept missing all the invites to parties.
Exactly. It's a lifeline. It's a social lifeline. It bridges that weird gap between.
I think right now he's off of it. This is probably, I don't recall the number of times, but I know it's at least 2 or 3 occasions where he is off and then he's back on because he was missing invites.
It's like that cocaine. You just gotta keep going back to it. Yeah, it's kind of a sad state of affairs. How integrated into our actual lives this.
What? We're
shit
just
is.
supposed to not use Facebook anymore?
I know, man.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Try it. Well, yeah, but I don't blame people for sort of falling into that trap. I mean, I wish that I had more of a social inclination. I mean, if I was more of a social person, then maybe I might be more interested in social media.
Yeah.
But I could give a shit less what other people think. Like,
Dude, it's been like 15 years since it was conceived. Isn't that crazy?
It really is. It all started with MySpace.
MySpace.
And AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh my gosh.
And Facebook combined both of those things.
Dude, oh my gosh. AOL I think AOL officially shut down in December.
Yeah, I saw that. Very sad. Rest in peace.
I had logged in once, I don't know when, last year, 2 years ago, 6 months ago. I have no idea when it was. But I logged in to my old screen name, and I see the names of all the other people I was friends with. And it brought back
goodness,
so many memories, the nostalgia of, one, seeing the names of people's screen names and be like, I know exactly who that person is. But also the categories that I created to put the screen names under.
Yeah.
It took me back, dude. I was like, oh, wow.
There's only like a segment of the American population between the ages of 20 26 and 30 who would know what we're talking about right now.
No, it'd be
32.
No, it'd be older than that. My
28 to 34.
no, I don't know if my
Let's not
sister used AOL, but
parse them.
it would be probably like, no, you're right. It'd be about 20.
handful of years, a couple of years.
It'd be at least probably 26 to 35 or 36.
But it was huge. It was so important for us as like adolescents.
Yeah.
To have that sudden instant communication with other people.
Yes.
How exciting was that? That it wasn't just in school anymore. You could be like, go home and still have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, that was pretty.
It was
yeah,
revolutionary.
That was wild.
Yeah.
I remember when I was probably right before I was a teenager, my cousins used it to talk to each other because they're about the same age, but they lived in different places. That's why I was like, no, definitely people that are at least probably 36 also used AOL. But yeah, I totally remember that, and you can strike up a conversation with anybody. And it was funny too because it was not even on the radar that you could say something and the person on the other end had the ability to print that conversation. If you said like, so, because in your mind that is a closed circuit that's only between you and the other person.
When you're talking to another person face to face.
But you could totally talk shit about somebody, and they could totally have printed that off and brought it to school.
Did you know anyone who did that?
Well, I remember between like you, me,
yes,
Cooper,
there was one time.
There was like
there
a
was
conversation.
One time.
There was like a
Yes,
group conversation between like
Prom.
6 or 8 of us.
Prom.
And I thought it was so damn funny that I printed it off. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was about, but I do remember it was just like so
I remember
funny.
you printed it off and you brought it and you're like, this was just so funny that like I had to keep it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
You probably still have that.
I don't know if I maybe threw it out because I remember too the ink, I think it wasn't 100%. It was like a little bit faded because at the time I think my printer, the ink cartridges were low. But I do have a folder of some random stuff from high school. Yeah.
So this week on Nostalgia Hour.
Yeah. AOL, Instant Messenger.
Yep.
That was pretty neat. So, before coming over today, I was telling you, like, oh, I took a nap.
Yeah.
My intention was to just take a nap for 30 to 40 minutes. I think I ended up taking a nap for almost 3 hours. It was one of those two where, like, you texted me, and I'm, like, awake, but I'm still really groggy, and I'm like, I do not want to get out of bed right now.
I was like,
and then I get up and like within 5 minutes I'm awake. But it took so much effort to get out of bed.
I was so glad when you texted me the other day. It's like, can we meet the next day or something like that?
Yeah.
Because I was like half asleep and I'm like, I could take a 2-hour nap, me up and do it later.
Yeah.
But when you're like, it's too late. I'm
Yeah,
just
you're like, let's
all right.
meet it.
And then I close my eyes and I fall asleep at like 8:30.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
You're like, let's meet at 8, and it's like
great night's sleep. It
means I'm not getting back until 10:30, and I'm waking up at 5 in the morning.
Hell
for work.
no.
So I'm like, hell no. I ended up actually staying up until like 11 o'clock that night too. So I thought
watching The Walking Dead.
No. So
okay.
I thought about that the next day. I was like, I could have done
Unwise
this last
decision.
night.
I you know what? I have done that far too frequently. Unfortunately I do that when I'm traveling early in the morning, which was gonna be probably the case with going to Jersey. I had told myself I'm gonna go to bed at 7 o'clock at night because my flight would have been at 6, so I'd need to be leaving around 4:30 at the latest, and so be up at maybe 3:30.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, I'll just go to bed after dinner. And
I love those nights where
I never end up going to bed after dinner, and I always go to bed at like 10, 11, midnight, even 1. Just
Dude,
like, all right, I'm not sleeping. Forget it.
The earliest I went to bed, I think, with the intention of sleeping the whole night, was last summer. I'm pretty sure I went to bed at like 6:30. I was so tired.
Really?
Several times, like 3 or 4 times last year, I went to bed with the intention of going to bed for the rest of the night, and the sun was still up. It was like setting. So like 6:30 was the earliest, and 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock. I wake up at midnight, 1 a.m. I'm up for like 45 minutes to an hour, and then I go back to bed for the rest of the night.
Yeah. I kind of had one of those this morning. I was up at maybe 3. And then
What?
Yeah, I know. I woke up, and I'm like, damn it. My arm was numb. We were talking with Shannon about how when you're sleeping or whatever. Sometimes if you don't have proper posture,
Oh.
your arm goes numb. So yeah, I wake up, both of my arms are numb.
Really?
And so like I can't roll over, so I have to just sit up, let the blood come back to the arms, and I'm
Yeah.
like, shit. All right, well great. Now my blood circulation, my heartbeat is up now. I try to lay back down, and I end up rolling back over a couple times, and it's a good hour and a half before I can fall asleep again, like 4:30. I wake up again. It's back up at 7. So
I read this article. It sounds very interesting to try out.
what's that?
It has to do with sleep. I can't remember what it's called, but it's where you fall into like this habitual sleeping pattern to like optimize your day. Why are you
That's a
shaking your
myth,
head?
But go on.
Why are you shaking your head?
Describe, because I think what you're about to say is a disproven myth.
One
That's
of-
horrible for your health. But
One
go
of
on.
them was one of the patterns was like you only sleep about 5 hours a day. You sleep like you sleep for 4 hours, and then like at some point during the day you take like 2 20 or 30-minute naps.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
It's a disproven myth.
Yes.
How so? Is
your
this on
your-
MythBusters?
No, this is scientific journals. It fascinates me. Sleep fascinates me. But no, the human body is meant to get optimally like 7 to 8 hours of solid sleep. That's what the standard human condition is. And when we sort of fiddle with that and funk with that, if it's not sort of our inherent behavioral patterns, it can screw up the rest of our cycles. Everything else can get off because we are a rhythm. Our body operates as a rhythm. And so when one part of our rhythm is off, it disrupts everything else. We may not see it sort of outwardly, but it messes with us. Just like when we're stressful or when we're stressed out, like it causes other stuff
Yeah.
to go on in our lives, whether we're getting less sleep, eating more, like all this sort of side effects of things that are a problem going on, you know? Does that make
So
sense?
let's say
So like messing with your sleep is never a good idea.
So let's say, for example, that you sleep 6 to 8 hours a night. Would you say, or do scientists say that it's better to sleep for one period of 6 to 8 hours, or can someone get away with sleeping 3 or 4 hours in one segment and then 3 or 4 hours in another segment?
No, because the way
3 hours, REM happens in 90-minute windows.
and it has to do with a particular sleep cycle, but the body functions better during that continuous period. I mean, I suppose you could do it and train your body to do it and get over all the side effects.
Yeah.
As far as
What if you
as far as I'm aware, there's no benefits to doing that.
I got a massage today.
Fuck you. It is interesting because I feel This is what? This is now 80, right? This would be
this
episode
would be
number 80,
yeah.
and 80 episodes in, I feel like how many times have we tried to force a conversation? Really, well, I feel like towards the beginning we would try to stretch out the podcast.
It doesn't happen very often where we find ourselves, scratching our balls and just trying to think about what to say next.
It's true.
The podcast. It's in the computer. You see that scene in Zoolander where there's that scene in Zoolander where they're like, quick, the files are in the computer. And they're like, it's in the computer? And they're like about to smash open the computer to like look inside the computer for these files.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Well, good thing we're not on any pressure to get this one out there right away.
Seriously, I know. Make it a two-parter or something. I feel like a lot of the conversations that we have just as many interesting conversations, if not more so, on the car ride to and from.
Yeah.
A lot of times, though, they're X-rated conversations.
I'm thinking too, because sometimes in the car I'm like, we're already halfway through and I can't stop it because I think like, should we save this for a podcast?
I
But
have
I'm
the
just like,
same feeling as
but I'm
well.
like, well,
many
we're
of
already,
these times.
you know, we already got the ball rolling on this, so maybe it
And I
can be
think-
replicated in the studio. Most likely not, but I'm not going to try and stop
Well,
it.
and that's what no one ever gets to see either, is the fact that we probably had at least 1 to 3 conversations that are entertaining or amusing, most of which I would say are like we can't air them,
Yeah, probably.
but they get the juices flowing.
And a lot of the
but
time,
we do sort of step into that boundary of like stuff we can talk about.
and
on
a lot of the
podcast.
time too, we just don't say a single word in the car because we're saving it for the
Oh
studio.
yeah. There are other times too where we're just riding in total silence.
Hey, what's up? What's up? All right, let's go.
Let's go.
15 minutes later, finally get to the studio.
I will always know like what the mood is when I get into the car, depending on the decibel level of the music you're listening to. Sometimes
Well-
I'll just be like, "Oh my god!" Like I'll always have my headphones in. I'll be listening to a podcast or something. I'm just like, "Oh, I
Well,
just gotta push it."
I
in."
have turned the volume down when you get in the car, and also when I see that you're putting on the headphones to listen to a podcast, I'm like, yes, I can listen to music.
Dude, man, I'm glad that you said that. We've never actually talked about this. I'm like, most of the time, I'm totally cool riding in silence, but there is that weird thing of like, you know, sometimes there's interesting stuff to talk about that sort of just pops up. I like to vent a lot as well. I feel like I do a lot of
Well,
talking.
when we were in the car and you were
Surprise.
I can't remember what it was you were talking about in the car, even though it just happened like an hour ago. But I hear the song on the radio. I'm like, oh shit, I haven't heard this song before, but I like it a lot. And then like you're talking about something. I'm
I
like,
can tell it's that
I don't think this. And I was like, this song is gonna end before this conversation.
Before I
is
finish
done.
my sentence.
But I'm
yeah.
like kind of digging this song, but Rick's is telling me something. So I like took out my phone real quick to Shazam the song so I can listen to it later.
props
It's like,
to you,
what's
man.
this song called? Okay.
That's fair, because sometimes I'll get in, I'm listening to a podcast that's like really got my attention. I'm like, oh, well, now I got Victor's music blaring and I'm
Yeah.
can like have a mini conversation. But yeah, it is interesting because I guarantee you, I mean, in the same way that before we begin every single podcast and after we end, we always talk about something. It's
Yeah.
always something. And at least, especially on the ride back, I feel like we have like excrement. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the second wave poop
Yeah.
of like stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And it all comes out on the ride home. Because what was it? The last time that we were coming home from recording, you're like, should we talk about it now? It was something really brief.
Oh yeah,
And
it was when I was working the other day and this guy, because I was telling you, pretty much everyone has had that experience where someone says like, someone just gives you this pamphlet, like, oh here, this is for you. Okay, thank you. And it says something like, do you believe in God, or something along those lines. And that's about it. They just give you this pamphlet and that's it. But this guy, talk to him for about 5 seconds, bring him up. Thank you. Hey, by the way, are you a Christian? I'm like, fucking A, here we go again.
Because
and-
Victor, being the super spiritual and religious person
And here,
that he is.
and I'm just like, I don't, and it wasn't,
JK.
and it wasn't that I didn't want to talk. I don't need to explain myself to you.
No,
but
we had this.
It was one of those. Yeah, we already had this conversation. But it was just like, I know exactly where this is going. This is a complete stranger who is gonna try and, force his way of life on
There
me.
were a couple of those
And-
at the rally, by the way.
And he's just going on, and I'm like, I think to myself, like, I do not care. I do not care. It is people like him that make me not give a shit about what he's talking about, because it wasn't necessarily what he was trying to convey. It was the fact that he was shitting on other people's religions or way of life to legitimize his way,
Yeah.
saying Buddhism this, Judaism this, and Islam that. And I'm like, fucking A, dude. You definitely lost any respect that I had for you when you start talking down on other cultures and
Hey,
ways of
man,
life.
you know my philosophy in life.
I told him, dude, because I'm just like, I'm not trying to have this conversation, so I told him, like, dude, different strokes for different folks.
Different strokes for
He
different
kept going
folks.
on and on and on and on and on. It was probably like 10 minutes long. It felt like an eternity, It was 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Don't get into a dick measuring contest.
Yeah.
You don't have much dick to measure.
Oh, I guess we found our title: Dick Measuring Contest.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And that's the other thing too, because we're talking a little bit about behind
200
the
downloads.
scenes. Right. Dick measuring contest. That's the other thing too. Since we're talking a little bit about behind the scenes stuff, titles, coming up with titles and descriptions for the show. I don't know if anyone ever reads the descriptions for these shows. Honestly, I don't. I don't think I've ever read a description for our podcast before. I don't think anyone else ever has either. But we spend a decent amount of time. I think a good 5 to 10 minutes writing a description.
Yeah, I cared about the descriptions way more earlier than I did now.
Yeah, now
I don't
it's
think
much
anyone's
more,
reading.
No, I mean, and it's not that more. You just got to get keywords in there,
Yeah.
etc. Like it gives you a synopsis, just an idea.
I was
of what to
trying
expect.
initially. I was trying to make the
It doesn't have to be poetry.
the descriptions as entertaining as the podcast themselves, and then I realized like I'm spending way too much time on this. Just kind of write it out, and we're done.
Now, the titles, on the other hand, are a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah.
Because that, I feel like that is a battle. Not with each other, but against the concept of the show itself every week. We struggle to come up with something that, well, okay, we do have kind of our differences in artistic opinion. Because Victor tends to like the shock and awe factor,
Hey,
and I like the
call this
more
one
metaphorical.
Scratching Our Balls.
Yeah, let's go. Which
Yeah.
now this one probably will be
Yeah.
called "Scratching My Balls." So
I'd like to title it something catchy that
Yeah.
may or may not have to do with
may
what
or
we
may
talk
not.
about.
How about may
And
not
Rich
have anything
wants
to
to
do?
title it something a little bit more rational.
Metaphorical.
Yeah.
I like the encapsulation. But yeah, I mean, that's the fact that we are able to continue these sort of conversations and not kill each other. I
Yeah.
think is fascinating. But you know, it's one of those things, man. Just keep doing it.
Yeah. It's just one of those things.
Oh my god. Oh my.